Hello, everyone, and welcome to Round 2 Front 9 action at the 2020 Green Mountain Championships presented by Discraft. We have Big Barry commentary, bringing you all the action here in Jeffersonville, Vermont. Jeremy Koling, joined by my buddy, Paul Ulibarri.
Thank you, Jerm.
You're welcome.
You're my buddy, too. James is our buddy as well.
100% circle 2, so that's one way that you get to 13 under par in the first round with a bogey. And we've got a new face on the lead card today, Dan Brooks Wells. Met him today. He said, call him DB Dubs. That's what we'll be doing today. Paul McBeth with a 9 under par. Good putting, good fairway percentage, good disc golfer.
Call me Beast, he told me.
And I have ever since. And we got Chris Dickerson, Robot Chicken, the Limestone Laser. He's looking off camera, just pissing everyone off at home. And we have got a wonderful round of disc golf in front of you. Hole 1, par 4, 600 feet. Tee shot is pretty easy. Just get one in play. From there, a little bit of a low ceiling, a couple trees in the middle of the fairway, but out of bounds surrounds this hole, left side, right side, and behind the green all the way. The trickiness really comes up on the green.
Let's hear it for James Conrad.
Wind's certainly going to be a huge factor in round 2 on the open course here at Fox Run Meadows. As you can see, some of the banners in the background doing what they do in the wind. James, the nice flat fairway driver. Didn't really need that tree kick, but didn't hurt him too much either.
Yeah, you see those 3 guardian trees. Those are the ones that you kind of want to filter through, but it seems like they kind of catch those fairway drivers. You never really kick right out of bounds, but you see a lot of them kind of get kicked left, and I think James is going to be a little bit tucked right there.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough approach for a right-hand backhand approach. This hole really suits a forehand approach very well. And there it is, the first time I've ever seen this player throw. Met Dan today actually at the local the local swimming area at Bingham Falls.
The local water hole?
I was saying, but that's not where we met. We did not meet at a bar.
You lush.
Oh.
Five-time world champion. He's got 7 out of his 8 tournaments are top 5 finishes this year. Sponsored by Discraft. Let's hear it for Paul McBeth.
Man who needs no introduction, but always gets a long one with all of his accolades.
Yeah, now we don't have to really talk about him.
Nope. He said everything we're going to say all round long. That's a beautiful tee shot. That's going to drift right into the middle. Sweet spot, little kick off the tree.
He said all that stuff before you did.
I was just repeating the man.
Yeah.
Been a hot golfer. He had a stretch this season where he had 9 wins in a row. He's got 11
this
tour
season
wins this year so far in 4 seconds. He's got 138 career wins. Sponsored by Garage Discs. Let's hear it for Chris Jefferson.
Chris Dickerson, one of very few players in disc golf history that has an over 50% win percentage. Him and Heather Young, both from Tennessee. Something about those Tennessee disc golfers. They win a lot of tournaments.
Those are a lot of accomplishments, and impressive ones at that.
And Chris still feels like he's new in the sport. I mean, he's been a player who's just absolutely dominated the Southeast, as everyone at this point knows.
Every single person is doing.
A terrible break.
That's safe, but that's also going to be the angle's going to be really cut off.
He's going to have to flip this thing up. I believe this is Chris's H2. Please be right. I'm not great at this, but I'm pretty sure this is an H2. Oh, no, and kick straight down. Somewhat fortunate to not kick out of bounds.
Absolutely.
We get to take a look at James. Difficult angle, making the best that he can from so tough to get that angle turned and get it to flatten out late without getting that little bit of roll at the end. And that's what
I think he played a really good shot there.
certainly.
That was
Oh no. Dan's gonna have to do some work to save the par. One of the few players in round 1 to play bogey free over at Brewster Ridge. And it's too easy.
Thanks.
Yeah, it looks like we got Paul McBeth mic'd up today. I'm sure we'll hear at least 3 or 4 words from him all around, if we're lucky.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
It was a great shot. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
I made another one.
Yeah. Thanks.
Paul, would you get a birdie?
That was a really good shot there. JB saved the par. Did he say, what is it? DB?
DB
I
does.
just call him JB. That's like the...
JB?
Yeah, I don't know where
There's
I
no
came-
J
No,
at all.
James?
Yeah, but you can call
Because they're playing dubs. JB dubs.
if they were playing dubs, that would be a great name.
Off topic. Here's James for... Sorry, guys. Here's James for circle 2 putt.
This would be a great birdie. And that 100% circle 2 birdie percentage has now dropped a bit. I'm sure we'll see a couple more of those today. Another course like Brewster Ridge, this course does end up giving a lot of circle 2 putts. And that's a good composure for DB dubs. It's hard to say. We can call him Dan, too.
Dan. Yeah, that was a nice, soft little flight.
And it's definitely a challenger after connecting on that initial tree on his approach and kicking straight down, having to reset and get up and down for the par.
Along with this Dickerson.
And James Conrad not losing any strokes to anyone besides McBeth.
Who threw a
least on this
laser
card.
beam second shot.
Which is beautiful. And really, hole 1 feels like it's one of the easier holes on the course as far as the par 4s, but it still plays over par at 4.17, and it's kind of right there in the middle at the 7th most difficult. Surprising that it was actually on the more difficult half of the holes on the course. Moving on to hole 14, 250 feet. It's par 3, straight as an arrow. Kind of a low ceiling coming through these trees right here, but really it's just all about hitting this initial gap and getting the height right. Just clear the rock by a couple feet and you should be able to get inside circle 1. The danger is an early kick right because there is out of bounds on the right side, and if you go too long, there's out of bounds behind the basket as well.
Yeah, and this is just pick your whatever shot you are most comfortable hitting the gap at about that
Get
distance.
past it. Gosh, you hit that tree every year. Every year you hit the same.
He hits that tree every year. Every year he hits that tree.
Yes, he
So
does.
do we, Paul.
I hit a different tree. James, not going to hit any trees, but did not get, well, he hit a bush. That height was just a little too low for as understable as that JK AVR is.
Still kind of snuck to circle's edge, it looked like.
Yeah, he threw it pretty fast. So back to the waterfall down at Bingham Falls, which is an amazing spot you must check out if you ever are in the Stowe, Vermont area. I asked Dan, what should we say about you today? And he said, well, I'm from Allentown, Pennsylvania. I moved up to Rochester, New York, and I came down here just to have a good time. And I think if you shoot 10 down at Brewster Ridge with no bogeys, you're going to have a good time. He's going to have a much better time if he gets up and down for the par on 2 as he connects with an early tree on the left side.
Yeah, easy mistake to make. This is such a specific shot, dead straight, and we do have kind of a left to right crosswind, which is making it also tough.
Yeah,
And it's not a friendly wind. It is stiff.
Chris with a nicely thrown. That is his P model US.
take your word for it.
Yeah, I asked him what it was yesterday. We played together first round. Otherwise, I would have never got that right. Yeah, a good approach. And sitting down right there next to the bucket. Relatively new player. Dan's really only been on the scene for 3 years or so, and he's picked up the sport pretty well.
I was going to say been on the scene for about 3 minutes.
Yeah, sure. Right.
Paul giving it a run from
Yeah.
about 80,
Yeah, 70, 80, something like that.
which is something that normal people would never even think about.
Especially not in the elevated basket.
He made it
James
in the
got
circle.
way
Yeah,
closer.
wow.
Wow.
That makes birdie really easy.
Yeah, definitely. Chris with this short putt. Great routine. Chris sticks to every putt that he takes. Really, regardless of the distance, he's going through the motions every time.
Was he a college football kicker?
Yes, he was I believe he was a field goal kicker. No, maybe he was a punter. He was a punter.
And-
Or he kicked a football in college. I know that. I don't know what kind of kicking he did.
And my point is, they stick to a really strict routine.
Yeah, okay. I see what you're
So
getting
that makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm. He's just an athlete. He's just grew up playing sports, just like most of these guys on tour.
Hey, calling a kicker an athlete. No, I'm just kidding.
Hole 3. We're going to move on to hole 3 quickly.
Really quick.
300 feet. Par 3, another low ceiling tunnel shot. The right gap that the drone is going through is going to be the gap you're going to see most of these players go for. There's OB on the right side and long, and as well as there's a mandatory that forces players to go up the gut. In years past, we've seen people go the big spike hyzer, try to play a little plinko action up there in the green. That's not really an option anymore.
I love that this hole forces you to really throw something. This is what it forces you to do exactly.
Yep.
And that is kind of a tough result, or is that right at that? That was a tough camera
It's a
angle.
no decision for James. He's going to
Sure.
run that putt. But if that's 10, 15 feet shorter, you might be in that position where you kind of give it a softer run. But I think James snuck into close to circle 1 territory.
What was I? I was trying to say that a lot of people are throwing, and because of the gap being so small, you're kind of throwing it harder.
Yes.
Which, so the hole kind of tricks you into doing that, because then it goes up the hill, and then all of a sudden it's one of the faster greens on the course.
All right, as soon as you get over the hill, just slopes downhill all the way down to the out of bounds line at the bottom of the ditch behind the basket, which it gets there quick.
Yeah.
Maybe 35, 40 feet past the pin.
And because of you speeding up, also, if you catch one of those, the left tree or even the right ones, you see a lot of them kind of kick to the right out of bounds. Really kind of an underrated design, I feel like.
Oh, this is a great hole. And Paul and Chris both coming up early left. And another early tree kick for Dan. It's going to be a scramble opportunity.
Fortunate not to miss the mandatory, and definitely fortunate not to go out of bounds as well.
And another good approach. That'll be a short putt left for the par.
Yeah, he's showing a lot of touch with that sidearm.
Something that you're seeing a lot of new players come into the sport with, that multi-talented arsenal of backhand, forehand.
Yeah, the whole combo platter.
You must have that in today's game. That's
Especially if you're shooting 10 down at Brewster.
yeah. Well, I mean, James doesn't necessarily have that.
The combo platter?
He doesn't have the combo platter. He just gets chicken tenders. Oh, that's this guy. Oh, no, Chris. That's the famous Chris Dickerson smile, and if you've ever played with him before, he only smiles when he throws a bad shot or a really, really good one. That was a bad one. James squeezing that one in there. Licking his chops a bit as the rest of the cart is struggling a bit on this hole.
Looks like the equivalent of about a 20-yard field goal.
It's good. And just like a point after attempt, that counts for 1. I feel like a hole when we play on tour, if the par comes out to right around par, or if the scoring average, I should say, comes out to par, it usually indicates a pretty good scoring separation as far as it's a good spread of scores. And this one comes in, or hole 3 comes in at 2.99, a great number. As we move on to hole 4, par 4, 630 feet, tee shots blind with a big bush line initial off the tee. A lot of backhand stable drivers with a little bit of flex is a very common play.
Yeah, you're normally having a head cross, so right to left headwind. So you want to throw something very overstable from left to right to kind of manage that wind, as James is doing that right there. And the only thing is you can get a lift if you don't get it up enough, but he's thrown that perfectly, obviously.
Yeah, a lot of times you'll see an overturn of the player going with a mid-range and going out of bounds early, and then, like you said, if you throw that stable driver and you don't get the angle right out of your hand, that wind can lift it and drift it into that middle of the fairway out of bounds area.
And really the one mistake you'll see is this one. You don't turn it enough, nose up, and then you'll be flirting with that OB line on the left. But that was actually very generous. Normally that's going to lift up. That was a mistake from Chris. Nose up. Didn't look like he committed.
Inbounds on this one is really the name of the game, and Paul has gotten aggressive on this one in the past. Looks like he's got a driver in the hand again.
Yeah, this is a ESP Raptor.
Is it really?
Yeah. Or it might be a Z Raptor. I know it's a Raptor for sure. He showed me it yesterday.
That's a nice drive. There's one bushy tree that's in the middle of the fairway out there that is kind of a good distance gauge for off the tee. If you can get there, you know that you've left yourself with a very manageable approach.
And here's that mid-range you were talking about, but it's fighting back.
Yes.
Okay.
Just drifting back in bounds and checking the spotter just to make sure that he saw what he was hoping to see and getting that green flag.
Left to right. I called that wrong from the tee. Looks like it was a big left to right wind, not the right to left.
It was definitely swirling out there though, and it's hard to really get the feel for the wind out there when you don't see those bushes moving around a ton. But it was a gusty day on the course.
There's a great wind read right there.
And Dan will have his first birdie look of the round here on hole 4.
James just has to throw this directly at it. Probably about 5 to 6 feet right above the basket and let the putter just kind of drop.
And this is turning over. Needs to get down. There is out of bounds back there, but I believe he's stayed safe in the farthest, longest part of the green.
Yeah, that was fortunate. In years past, that's been really tight to the right over there.
McBeth going with the Z-zone and putting it right up there to the rocks. That's, once again, exactly the way you draw the hole up.
When you said Yankee, I was like, oh, such a Virginian.
Well, McBeth knows now. He's a Virginian.
This will give you a kind of an indication. Looks like he's using a newer putter on this putt.
And look at this headwind, 38 feet. Wow. Oh. That is such a difficult putt.
That
And the headwind is accelerating the flutter as that just was online the whole time, kept the energy straight at the middle of the basket.
very impressive.
Yeah, you see a lot of spin putters. That putt turns over, drifts right. James just putting that on the pole and stays straight the whole way. And Chris, he is able to tap in his birdie. Dan, an opportunity to put a star frame up on the board. Oh, so we got our lead card doing lead card things on hole 4 with the star frame. $25 going to charity. Hole 5, par 3, 475 feet. And really, we're getting into the gauntlet of this course. Minus hole 6. These are some of the hardest holes you are going to see on tour. 5, 7, 8, and 9. This is the time of the round where you can really gain and lose the strokes that you're going to need to win this tournament.
Mostly lose. And the reason being is it's windy. Very, very windy once you get to this stretch of holes. And as you see, James.
Oh no, the worst kick possible. Or skip, I should say, off the bridge. First off, getting through the initial tree, not hitting the railings on the bridge, hitting the flat part and skipping through the railing on the other side into the water. That was really unfortunate.
Sure, but he did kind of shank.
Oh, totally shanked the shot, but a lot of things could have been there to help him
for sure.
not go out of bounds. And so James is going to have a long 100-plus foot putt. He's most likely got to just lay that up and take it the first bogey of the round.
This is
Dickerson,
more,
however, yeah, this is perfect. Or it looks perfect.
That's, I mean, you can't draw it up any better than that.
Hitting that hillside, getting a little counter skip and roll.
Perfect height, perfect angle.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing about this hole is you see a lot of people kind of pull it a bit to the right, and then if you hit those trees on the right, that's out of bounds, and that's out of bounds really quick off the tee. So you're taking it back a ways, and that's when
double
bogey and double bogey comes into play.
Very common score on this hole, double, triple bogey happening for so many players on this field.
And because it's windy, as this one is going to not make it, and there it is.
That's exactly what you said. That one did push forward a little bit longer than you typically see when a disc hits those trees, but still, it's bogey.
This looks great. And the interesting thing about this hole is when it's calmer. That's awesome.
Fantastic shot from Dan parking hole 5. Wow.
But when it's calmer, you can actually throw kind of a spike hyzer over all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And once it gets windy, it's actually a really tight gap that you have to hit.
Look at this. This is just, you cannot draw it any better than that. Any higher, and he's hitting that flat part, potentially skipping in the lake on the left. Beautiful.
This ain't no gimme up shot.
And a lot of times it's blind. Paul did make it up far enough that he can see the pin almost ringing up the par safe from 200 feet. Oh, sit down. Sit down.
Looked like he was trying to make that.
Yeah, I don't really think I can remember the last time James laid up a putt, so no surprise there. Chris, nice birdie putt. I feel like those putts from that distance on a hole that's so wide open just can be a bit deceiving as far as distance, and a player doesn't have the trees or anything around them to kind of gauge any level of comfort. I kind of feel like you're exposed. in a situation like that.
Well, not only that, but the disc is exposed. Coming uphill with that crosswind, he's a good 4 to 5 feet below the basket right there. So at one small mistake and the bottom of the disc is shown to the wind, and it'll lift you super quick.
Yeah, definitely a putt that he made look way easier than it was, and
which he often does.
Sure. And that's the sign of a great putter and a great player. And damn, look at the reward after that impeccable drive. 2 birdies and 2 bogeys, a very common result that you'll see on hole 5. As we're moving on to the easiest hole on the course, hole 6, par 3, 270 feet. A blind tee shot, but even, well, James is going to throw a backhand, but we're going to see forehands from the other 3 players, almost guaranteed. Out of bounds on the right side, that tall wall, and there's also out of bounds left side. In the windier conditions, that can come into play. But most likely, scenario here is going to be a donation to charity. Chris has to work a little bit there. 25 feet.
Dan with also a nice little routine here, taking his time. I like how focused he's been this round so far.
And still, worth mentioning, bogey free for the event.
Yeah, 2 under par.
And yes,
now 3 under.
Most likely 3 under. Yeah. Even for an experienced player playing with the likes of Chris Dickerson, James Conrad, and Paul McBeth on a lead card, on Jomez coverage, and all that can be a daunting task. But for a player that is relatively brand new to the scene, that is
absolutely. Okay. I played with Eagle, McBeth, and Ricky yesterday. I rolled over like a stink bug.
James throwing the beautiful backhand turnover, parking it. He's insured a birdie here on hole 6, and yeah, definitely it changes the mentality of a lot of players, and understandably so. It can be a nerve-wracking thing to do, but I think that maybe a part of that helps is there are no spectators out here. When you have 400 people watching, clapping, or being silent for a bad shot, it can be a bit scary, as Paul's got a lot of work left on hole 6. That was a misfire.
Yeah, it looked like it kind of got a wind lift and then just kind of a smackdown. Took a little energy out of it. I think that was that same Raptor he threw on hole 4.
You just wanted to say Raptor again, dude.
Get up,
right.
Get up.
And Paul, nice putt to save the birdie.
To get a birdie?
No.
With the Raptor?
We save birdies on hole 6. You don't get anything.
This is a good putt. Really good putt.
Very good putt. Oh, boy.
Right off the upright.
Should have gone for 2, Bob. I don't know why I said Bob. That would have been a great joke if I just said Chris or Paul. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just the stock name if you're throwing in a random name.
Well, he is Bob now.
Here on the tee, it's decision time. Do you try to carry the OB ditch playing 400 foot away, or lay up short of the bridge to secure a safe tee shot? If you do manage to clear the ditch, you're gonna be left with this, a 400 foot shot into a similar landing zone. And with a predominant right to left wind, that's easier said than done. Almost done. With 400 foot and some change into this tight green and a field known for going low, that makes birdie enticing, even though this is playing as one of the hardest holes on the course. Let's see how it plays out.
it certainly is playing as one of the hardest holes in the course. Exactly the hardest hole in the course. Averaging a full stroke, 6.01 over par. Dan playing the smart layup option. Taking the stress off the tee is such a huge part of this hole. If you're in a good position to throw a long second shot, great.
This hole in particular, because of that field on the right.
And this is just dropping straight down and dropping down so fast that it actually saved James from going out of bounds.
No, he's OB.
That is out of bounds.
I think that the wall's a bit past the out of bounds line.
Ah, okay. And he hit the wall?
Yeah, I think so,
Okay.
yes. And so, yeah, with that hillside and then the...
Oh, wow.
Lift.
And I'm just surprised, even with McBeth's power, to get aggressive with this tee. This is a hole where you can still achieve the birdie with a layup. Maybe just the game plan is so set, there's no wavering based on wind, but I don't know. When you see the trees moving as much as they are.
Yeah, you can hear it as well. Like, it was playing windy today.
And also, who am I to question what Paul McBeth does when Paul McBeth does it?
You're a commentator.
Sure. It was a bad decision, Paul. Don't do bad things. That's a good one, though.
Really good shot there, yeah. I mean, he can still save par from there.
Yeah, actually. And if that went far enough, he will be in that 500-foot range. And we did a skins match last year, if you remember. He was so enthralled with Calvin Heimberg's eagle at Worlds, and that's a great shot for Chris. They said, I'll try it. I've never tried it before. And then just did it. Just got a 3 on this hole. First time ever trying it. So it was really annoying.
Really?
Yeah. Just won a lot of skins.
I
Actually,
never heard of that. Yeah.
Simon Lizotte missed the putt for his eagle. It was like 2 people were putting for eagles on this hole. It's just so dumb.
There's a good shot there. Kicks inbounds. And this hole can get out of control real fast. So these guys are trying to put a little Band-Aid on these first out of bounds shots.
So James was out of bounds and just took it straight back.
Yeah, I think to get off of that tree.
To get a good angle. Okay, and that's good thinking there for James as he's executed a great third shot. And get to see the power of DBW's forehand. A nice hyzer, probably traveled about 380 to 400.
Yeah, that looked like it had some juice behind it for sure. One more of those and he's home free.
Mm-hmm. That is a swirly potato right there. What is that?
I believe this is a really, really great shot.
God,
Get up. Oh, wow.
And that's so deceiving. I mean, that was just online. The height looked great. I don't know if the wind really smacked it down there at the very end of the flight or if it's just the fact that it just is so much farther than it looks. You're standing there, the basket seems like it's huge, but it's downhill the whole way, so your eyes get bigger than they really.
I think he might have got smacked down. Let's see.
Yeah.
I think we'll get a good indication by Chris's shot. Oh.
Well, maybe not this time. Oh, Chris will have pretty easy up and down to get his par. James now with an opportunity to try to save his par on hole 7. And he's got the height right. It's just going to continue to drift.
Going in.
Oh, my God. That was so good. That was so good. I believe that was James Wraith. Just holding that turn the whole way at that height. Such an amazing thing to do at that distance. And a nice approach. Good effort. And Dan, par, birdie, birdie, birdie. Short for par here. Nothing exciting. Nothing, you know, in a bad way. You know, exciting can be a bit of a problem sometimes on a course like this when it's open and wide open, windy, out of bounds. A lot of up, a lot of down can end up hurting you. And right now he's just playing even keeled, throwing some nice shots, playing his game plan very well, still bogey free. And if you can get through 7, 8, 9 bogey free, you're doing some good things.
Yeah, you're doing work for sure.
We're moving on to hole 8, 6th most difficult hole in the course, but really probably the hardest hole to birdie on the course. Uphill, 755 feet, par 4. It just feels like it's every bit of 900 feet. It's just 2 absolute crush tee shots. Big turnover off the tee. Super important to get the angle right with the right disc selection. And Dan is just going to go forehand off the tee, which I think, unless you have an absolute monster forehand, like Eagle McMahon territory, this is not really birdieable with a forehand off the tee.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And one thing I like about this hole is, like you said, the angle is really what's important, especially with the backhand. And today we have a kind of a tail cross, which is pushing you straight towards that out of bounds line. And so this needs, it might be stalling backwards.
Stall. Stalls out of bounds. James with an unfortunate slip off the tee and giving Chris a good indication to be a bit more careful.
So the mistake you see a lot of people make is they get their most understable disc, right? And then they throw it straight thinking that it's going to turn. That's a beautiful tee shot. And then it doesn't because of how high you have to throw it and because of that tailwind.
Mm-hmm. Inbounds is the call. Dickerson hugging that right side line. That was a good tee shot. Got a lot of distance off. A little bit scary there with the result is it's completely blind from the teeing angle.
Come on. Keep going right.
It's moving right.
Stop.
But it might have gone too far. Yeah, and he knew it out of his hand. And it's going to be close. Those walls are just a couple of feet behind the OB line, so he didn't even hit the wall and was out of bounds. So kind of cutting it close and unfortunately on the bad side of the out of bounds territory. James from probably 450 feet just getting one inbounds and at that uphill grade probably playing closer to 500 feet. But I like this. Again, sticking to the game plan, knowing this hole is going to eat people's lunch, another difficult one. You're going to see doubles. You're going to see triple bogeys on this hole. Not many birdies. So playing it for a birdie is really, you're trying to shave one stroke off your score at the cost of sacrificing 3. And that doesn't play out for most players. As McBeth is going to
Get a par.
just blister the approach.
That is so difficult. He actually has to put that on the out of bounds line on the right, and with the wind that he has, it can drop at any moment with any sort of gust. So just a lot of commitment and
fantastic execution. And Chris Dickerson, far enough off the tee that he's got a forehand approach, putting that into about 50-foot, 55-foot range. Getting a putt for birdie is always a bonus.
I feel like that's the way you really want to play this hole, is get a tee shot far enough to where you can throw a comfortable shot that at best it's going to get to about circle's edge or just inside the circle, because that's the safe play. And then at worst, you're going to have a putt like he just did there.
Right. Yeah, that green really does get tight on the right side. If you try to park it off your second, you're really bringing trouble into play. And look at that. Rewarded for his efforts. A big birdie putt. One of only 7 players on the day out of our 89-player field to get the birdie 3 on hole 8. Paul saving the par. That is an outstanding par. He really did bite a lot off with that tee shot. Good distance, just didn't quite drift far enough right, but nonetheless an amazing approach. Still, I'm impressed. I mean, a lot of bogeys to be had. If he can get through hole 9, now that is really the test, because of all holes in this course, there's a way to play it for par. You can give yourself the idea of, okay, if I play it here, I can play it safe and I don't have to worry about bogey. You don't get that option on hole 9. There's out of bounds right side, left side. There's wind coming off the lake that sometimes you can't even read because it's different on the tee than it is down the fairway. You try to throw it straight and you drift OB left down the hill. You try to throw it a little bit Anheuser, you go out of bounds right. There's really not a great safe play. You have to be aggressive.
There's nothing safe about the hole. Even if you park it, you have the Indiana Jones boulder coming right at you.
And this is a nice looking tee shot. I don't think that's in any danger whatsoever.
And so this is actually a good spot. So as you can see, the out of bounds kind of curves to the left, so it gives you a landing zone. The way that you should play this hole, being a right-handed player, is to have your stock 380-foot shot. Stable disc, play it to that left edge right at about, what is that, 60 feet, 55 feet? Oh.
And this is it. This is the end of the bogey-free stretch.
Yeah.
For Dan, and that's a very common mistake, and that's why they have a spotter on the right side in the woods, because you're going to have 2 or 3 people from each group going in the woods there on the right, especially with this right to left headwind. It really isn't a scarier wind to have on this hole. When there is a tailwind, players will oftentimes go with the mid-range, but that is not an option you have in these conditions today.
So we'll look for Paul to kind of hug that right side with a nice hyzer line, skip it into that landing zone to the left, and try to make that big putt, which he has done perfectly. And it looks like it has height, but it's still going to be fine.
Gotta sit. Oh, wow.
Great reaction.
Oh, my goodness. That's about the best result you'll ever get when one starts drifting left. That OB line was brought down the hill a couple years ago. It used to be a much safer bowl area down there by the green. Steve Brinster didn't like that, so he changed it.
And James threw it bad enough to be just fine. Still not an easy approach.
Not at all.
Downgrade the whole way.
Super fast green, and that's a good result. This, wow, just really stopped. It didn't want to move at all after that. Just a couple flutters, and coming in with that much angle can be a bit scary coming into that slope, but worked out well for Dan there. That's about the best effort you can really give it from that range at 66 feet. That floaty high bid really slopes dramatically behind that pin. Wow.
Yeah, rare miscue, but good thing the pole was there. It looked like that one was
that
had some serious speed on it.
May have been OB bound behind the pin. And James with a nice birdie save from 27 feet. I found this green to be very swirly, the way that the lake is right over that hillside, and this little greenway, the way it wraps around with the trees. There's a lot of wind that's just kind of moving around and swirling. I wonder if that was playing tricks with Paul's read on that putt.
Something was happening.
Yeah, you normally don't just see him miss by 7 inches over the top of the basket. And Dan will finish his front 9 at 2 under par, a very respectable front 9.
Scuba.
Yeah, he's beaten the best player of his generation by a stroke to the front, so a good start for that player. And James Conrad still holding on to that lead. Chris Dickerson with a really good front 9, 4 under par, bogey free. And we've got Dan still sitting there in 3rd place. Kevin Jones making a little bit of move there, 5 under, and Dustin Keegan at 5 under in the front 9. He's making the biggest move so far. Paul, what do you have to take from that front 9?
I was really impressed with Dan's play, honestly, and I feel like that's the way that you have to play this course, is take what you get and then just be patient, and the back 9 does get easier.
The Founders Club, you guys are the reason we're here. We appreciate you. We love you. Round 2, back 9, coming right up from Smuggler's Notch.